Hi, welcome to Your Simple Golf Swing. I'm Matt. I'm going to tell you a neat little trick about how you can use your aim point to increase your distance with all the clubs in your bag. This is a neat little thing that I discovered years ago. I discovered it watching the PGA Tour, and I started noticing some things that the commentators were saying. And they were talking about when people were hitting into greens, they were talking about how a good aim point would be their television tower. Some of them would even say the top of the television tower. I have also heard them say, well, that real tall tree there in the background, that would be a good aim point. Well, I started experimenting with this and I found something very interesting. And I found that if you adjust your aim to where you are looking at something beyond your target, and this is beautiful from the tee box, really works well, and I'll give you an example in a minute. If you aim at something beyond your intended target and high in the air, you will increase your distance. Case in point, me and some buddies were playing at a golf course down here in Florida, in Hudson, Florida, called Meadow Oaks. I was on the 12th hole, I believe it was, par 5, 490 yards. We had always played this hole, hit your drive, hit a layup, hit into the green. And we had played it that way for a very long time, 490 yards. Well, as I started to get longer and longer, I wanted to be able to reach that green in 2 shots. One of the problems was that there was a little bit of a dog leg left, and there were some tall trees at the corner of that dog leg. So if you were on the left side or a little too far back and you needed to use a long iron or perhaps a 3-wood to hit into that green, you wouldn't be able to get the height you needed to clear those trees. So like I said, we always hit up to about 250, maybe 270. Then we'd hit a short iron over those trees, and then we'd hit a short wedge up onto the green. Well, one day I was out there and I decided to try something different. And it was kind of by a fluke, but what I did is I stood on the tee box and I looked way past that dog leg, and I looked at the trees, the woods way beyond. I mean, these things had to have been 400 yards or more away. And I picked a real tall tree that would put me on the right-hand side of the fairway. And my goal was to get as far right as I could so I wouldn't have to clear so many trees to get into that green. So I stood up to the ball. I looked at that tall tree way down there, way beyond anything I could reach, and I just did my normal swing. Now again, my goal was to get to the right side of the fairway. That ball flew a mile. My playing partner says, holy crap, that was a long drive. We need to measure that. We get out there, we find out that I hit that ball 320 yards. No kidding. I discovered by accident on that day that if we adjust, we kind of do a little paradigm shift, and instead of thinking about that landing area that we normally hit to, look beyond it. And don't just look beyond it to, okay, I see a sand trap out there, I'm going to aim at that. If there are trees behind that sand trap, look at the top of one of those trees. If there are houses back there, look at the top of those houses. Swing at those. You'll be amazed at how much that will free you up. You won't need to add any extra effort to your golf swing. It's just a mental paradigm shift that changes everything. I was teaching a guy golf one time when we were out playing on a course. He had his 8-iron into the flag, and when he hit, he came up short. And I asked him, and I said, what are you aiming at? And he says, well, I was aiming at the flag. And I said, what's the last thing you looked at just before you swung? And he says, well, I was aiming at the bank of the pond in front. I wanted to make sure I cleared that bank. And I said, well, I want you to try that shot again. Use the same club. And I told him, you see the tree behind the green? And right behind the flag, you see that real tall pine tree? And he said, yeah. And I said, aim at the top of that. So he lined up and he stood there. And I said, now before you swing, when you look up for one last check, look at the top of the tree, nothing else. And he did. He went back and he hit, and that ball just flew nice and beautiful, went right over the flag and landed between the flag and the back of the green. He actually gained 15 to 20 yards on that shot just by changing his perspective. For the rest of the round, he kept using that trick, and he never came up short again on a green. It was pretty cool. Now, he wasn't always straight, but he was never short again. So try that trick. Pick targets high and way beyond where you're trying to hit it, and you see you won't be coming up short on the greens, and you'll hit your drives a lot longer. Thanks for joining me. If you like what you've seen, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I put up a new video. If you would like to take my online course, please go down in the description. You'll find a link for the course in there. Thanks so much.